Welcome to Business Spotlight. I'm Gavin Bellamy, and I'm joined today by Kaia Allen-Bevan. And Kaia is the founder of YouthTheGap. So, Kaia, welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the call.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited for this.
That's a great start, Kaia. Well, tell us what YouthTheGap. It's an interesting name for CIC. Tell us what it's all about and why you set it up.
Yeah, so Youth the Gap is a multi-award-winning consultancy that's on a mission to reimagine the world of education. We do this by working with schools directly to identify gaps and co-create solutions in order to fix them on a long-term basis. We're really not here for tick box exercises, and we do that by doing that, hopefully, in person, really personal approach for schools. And that's come from my experience of being a youth worker and being in the education sector for a couple of years, and seeing a lot of external support that seems to fail to recognize the importance of really getting to know a school on a personal basis, and
Yeah.
therefore things that you would introduce to schools kind of falling through the roof. So through my own lived experience and through my own expertise in education, we essentially fix those educational gaps through working with schools directly on a long-term basis.
That sounds like an incredible, expansive mission statement that you're doing there. Can you give us an example of a recent engagement?
Yeah, so we actually are currently working with a local school, Downs Junior School, and we're doing a whole anti-racist audit program with them. This came about because the parents actually reached out to us and found that they actually needed some external support. So we ended up having a meeting with the parents and therefore having a meeting with the deputy head teacher. And since then, the collaboration and partnership that we view it as has really flourished. So we're starting to work with the young people and do training and workshops for the young people, teachers and parents. We're doing this also through a specialist program, which is the Anti-Racist Changemakers program. And we're really key on our partners. So we're bringing in lots of already existing organisations within Brighton and Hove who have a specialist area in anti-racism and Black and Global majority support, in order to really enhance this collaboration. So yeah, it's really exciting. It's really unfolding, which is lovely to see.
Okay, it sounds fantastic and really exciting and insightful. What sort of age range do you work with, and how do you
Yeah.
find usually do you find your sort of the people you're going to work with on a project?
Yeah, so really anyone in education. So that could be your pupils, and that can range obviously from age 5 up until really university level.
Yeah.
We don't really discriminate. We really would love to reach as many schools as possible and adapt our approach depending on the different age demographics within a school. But we also work with obviously teachers and educational staff, so that can range between, say, the youngest employee within the workplace to the most kind of already existing person in the workplace. And we're really key on making sure that external stakeholders are also involved. So that is your parents, that are the local community, for example, that's the governors, to ensure that they are a part of this whole holistic plan. Because it's important when you're doing essentially educational gap work and ensuring that we're able to co-create solutions that really mean long-term change, you have to involve everybody in that picture. And often what we found actually is that the parents come to us first. And why this is a good thing is because parents and pupils often have the more real scope of what the school looks like and their experience versus schools, which is not a bad thing. It's just a matter of how schools sometimes can be a sugarcoating and trying to cover up any tracks of any kind of educational gaps that may exist. So parents and young people often have the realist account of that, and oftentimes that is our first leeway in, is through the pupils or the parents.
Okay. So is the gap referring to the gap in the provision of education? I'm making an assumption there. How close am I to the mark on that? Is that where the gap is coming in in your view?
Yeah, that could be one of the gaps. So it
There's
could
more than one.
range, right? And I think that's the complexity, but also the sad part of the problem is that gaps within education is not just a one gap, which obviously, if that was the case, it would be much easier for us. And it means that we probably reach justice a lot sooner. But actually, when we think about justice in terms of educational gaps, it can range from an intersectional experience. For example, a Black and global majority student won't have the same experience nor have the same educational gaps as somebody else within the school. So we understand that through our intersectional lens, it could be things like the attendance rate. It could be those who are disproportionately excluded. It could be from a lack of training and resources that schools may have. It can be the curriculum and what is currently taught by the curriculum and how we can support to ensure that diverse voices are heard. So really, we understand that through our five-figure and framework and four-pillar value system, that the gaps are more than just one. It's intersectional, it's multifaceted, and we're on a mission to change that regardless.
Yeah. I can imagine. I mean, reflecting on my former life as a head teacher, I can imagine that schools would be incredibly grateful that
Hmm.
you have the resources and the means to bring this kind of learning, teaching, and experience into the school environment. I guess
Hmm.
equally, they may be slightly reticent as to how you're going to go about this and what you're going to do. So despite the fact that you must be lifting a weight off of their shoulders, I guess you've also got to work quite closely in partnership with the schools to, from a point of view of reassurance and
Yeah.
supporting them. Would that be correct?
Yes, 100%. I think the first thing that we do say to all educational staff is that we're here as an external support system. We're not here simply just to work with you on, say, like a 1 year basis and then just scurry off and you don't hear from us again. The whole point of us is that we're an ongoing support system. We see it as a coalition and a partnership.
Yeah,
With that in mind, it means that we are here for long-term support. With that in mind, also, we also work from a waitlist solution, as you said.
yeah,
So it means that the workload will be on us. There's no point us going into schools and saying, we've got this amazing thing and we need X, Y, and Z from you because staff are already underfunded, staff are underpaid, staff are burnt out disproportionately, especially in this current climate. I think to date, since 2010 up until 2023, each child has lost around 5 grand in education across the UK.
in
So with
terms
that
of funding.
yes,
Yeah,
funding for education. So with that in mind, it means that we have to work from a personal basis. We need to work from a specialized action program, which we develop in our discovery phase, which is the first phase we do encounter with a school.
yeah,
It is making sure it's free or very, very low cost. Currently, with the schools we work with, we are completely funded. So it means that every work we do is free. And that takes down any of the economic barriers that may be in place in truly achieving justice.
yeah. No, absolutely. Well, one thing's really clear is that you're obviously really passionate about what you do. There's the
Yeah.
passion and excitement in your voice. And you did kind of briefly touch on where that came from in terms of your background, but let's dig into that just a little bit more. Where does your personal passion and drive to do this come from?
Yeah, I think I've always had a passion around education because I really do see it being a powerful tool to drive change and it being a really fundamental part of a young person's experience. I think you spend at least 18 years in education. So, with that in mind, it's a big chunk of your life being within the system, which sometimes doesn't benefit you at all. And we found that through our, kind of own qualitative and quantitative research that from the sample that we collected, if we were to generalize it to the UK population, 75% of young people would have an overall negative experience in education. That's massive. So I think it really compacted when I started working in schools and I started to see the gaps face on. I would have conversations with young people that I was teaching. And really them being honest and open and finding that the classroom that they were in with me was a really lovely support system, but it didn't resonate across all areas of the school. So when I left, I felt that I don't want to be failing these young people. I want to make sure that their voices are also included in the external support system I would develop because that's often a massive thing that's left out when we think about support. We think about education and the system, we think about the teachers, and we miss out the parents and young people. And actually, a school won't exist without parents and young people. So I think from seeing that and also still being a young founder myself, I'm 22, so seeing about my own educational journey and seeing the way in which it failed me, even though I was recognized as a student who is extremely successful and went and got really great grades and had 100% attendance, that really actually doesn't matter because I still was failed in different areas. So I recognize the failures. I see it from my own pathway. I see it in the pathway of the students that I have a privilege to have met and have touched their lives. But seeing that actually we need to build a movement, really, not a moment around education. It's striving for long-term change in that respect. So, yeah.
And I mean, there's a lot of challenges going on in the education sector, and you know, sometimes it seems there's so much bad news in terms of funding and performance,
Mhm.
things like that. But do you see any, you know, is there any hope? Are there any rays of light, any green shoots that you see through your
Yeah.
as well?
Yeah, I think even just the school that we're working with currently is a symbol of hope. We're very grateful to be working with Dance Junior School because they've been so receptive and an absolutely an absolute pleasure of a school to work with because they're open, they're receptive, they want to strive this work, they are open about their challenges. And I think that sense of vulnerability and us being able to come in to essentially hug them and be like, it's okay, you know, we've got you and we're going to strive to this together and hold hands with them as we walk through this change. That's a symbol of hope. I think even just the recognition as a lot of young people who are being a lot more vocal about their educational experience, being a lot more vocal about the current climate of the world, I think that's also a symbol of hope because we can't strive, hope alone is not enough. What we need on top of hope is action. And I think we can see that through the current climate of young people where they're seeing, you know what, we can't just simply sit here with hope. Actually, we need to strive for further action to ensure that everybody is included in this world of a dream future that we want to live in. So I think even that's an indication of hope, even if we see it as, oh my gosh, there's so much going on in the world. There always seems to be something happening. Okay, that's great because we're waking up to the realities of the world we live in. And so, how can we be an active ally in striving to change that? So, I see hope almost quite differently.
Yeah. I mean, action turns aspiration into results, doesn't it? And that's
100%.
the key thing. Um,
hmm
what's the future for you, for your business, for your CIC?
Yeah, we're very grateful to say that we have been funded for the next 2 to 3 years by Phoenix Way Fund. It has changed the landscape of our work entirely because it means that we can not only just continue working with Downs Junior School for from 1 year to 3 years, actually, it means that we can start to work with other schools across the UK. That also means that we can onboard more staff in order to leverage that. It also means we can start to train our staff a lot more effectively. It means that we can, you know, reach our young people across the UK rather than it just being a regional basis. So that's definitely one thing that's in the future is our social impact, and then we're really, really proud of the social impact that we lead with. We've just finished a partnership with TEDx Brighton, which is really exciting, which we brought three amazing and just so aspirational young people to the iconic red dot to take it on and challenge the theme actually of Planet Hope. So it's very funny we bring that hope in conversation of that. And I think that's the start of many things to come. We'd love to be able to do our own thing, whether it is in further partnership with TEDx Brighton or we do our own thing that's very similar, but actually centering youth voices. That's really exciting in terms of that social impact and really harnessing youth voice within the community and hopefully across the UK too. So many more things to come, events and things like that. So, but I won't spoil it all. You can get tuned in to find out a little bit more.
Well, yeah, there's clearly a lot on the horizon, and that's really exciting. And your excitement is infectious as well, Kaia. Thank you very much for sharing your time with us today and your thoughts, and really do wish you all the best going forwards. And you know, the more impact that you can have on the lives of young people and the education system, the better. So thank you for your part in that.
Thank you, Gavin. I appreciate you.